Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. I said good evening, right? So just want to see if you are awakened or not. So if it's evening for you, good evening. If it's the morning, good morning, and good afternoon as per the time you watch this video. Okay. So in general, I say greetings. Right. So I hope you have even seen the last video of the case study 4, 5, and 6. Right. If you have not, I have given the link in the description box. You can see that as and when the time permits for you. Because it is not chapter specific, you can take your time and watch those videos. Okay, now in this video, this is third video on the case studies, and we are going to do 7, 8, and ninth case study in this video. Okay, and for any ISCA related queries or any other subject you want to have any guidance as to how to write, how to prepare, or any kind of trouble, like you may be having a lot of thoughts in your mind, or you may be struggling with any some sort of diversions or unable to focus because of the outside media thing that they are being showing to you, or any kind of you can say troubles related to heart, like you're unable to study for more point of time, or you're more involved in the social media, unable to control it, or don't know how much to study, what to start, what to end, where to start, all these kind of small questions which are very impactful on your preparation. And now because the exams got postponed, so even it may lead to even more confusion minds of the students, few students of course. So if anything of that sort, you can approach me. There is a mentorship program which I take one on one. Okay, it's not a group thing, it is not of many people together. No, it is one on one. I spend around 1 hour of time. I'll discuss with you on Google Meet what is the main issue you're facing, and we'll try to sort out the thing and give you the possible solution which you can implement, and it will give good results. You can say, ma'am, how can you do? It is simple. I passed my CA exam after 5 plus attempts, so I know what it takes to come to that level. Of course, my CA inter was in the second attempt, but still, I do understand what goes on with the students, right? So, in case if you need anything of that sort, you can contact me. I will even link. I will share the link of the mentorship program, the one-on-one mentorship, only applicable to you and not to others, right? So it is customized, you can say, so that you can take a chance and see how the thing goes. You can have a discussion of your needs only. Okay, so let's get started. Then what does it say? The seventh one, KD Health and Medical Care Limited. So once I remember this word KD, I mean, if you are from Andhra, Telangana somewhere, and even maybe it even got dubbed in Hindi. So there's an Nagarjuna film called KD. I really like that kind of mass movie, so I remember that thing here. Some slight distraction. Okay, let's come back. Come on. KD Health and Medical Care Limited provides a medical health check and other medical outsource services to various its client customers that include pharmacists, physicians, patients, education institutions, daycare establishments, government agencies, insurance companies. Okay, it's providing some medical health and other medical outsource services. Okay, that's good. The company is located in Agra, and its 100 employees living on the private land space situated in Agra. Okay, the company has a policy of allocating the super user password to general manager and finance department. Okay, now the thing comes which is relevant to ISCA. So it is saying it allocates the super user password to general manager and finance department. Okay, the same is defined in the job profile of GM Finance, who is responsible to supervise the allocation, deletion, modification, and suspension of the user right based upon the approval by HR department. Okay, so the finance control, sorry, the password control is with the general manager of finance. I don't understand why he have given like that, but still, okay, it's the company profile, it's a company's thing, and based upon the job profile, he allocates who gets what resources depending upon the approvals given by the HR department. Okay, then on 26 September 2018, the general manager of finance resigned from the company, and on the 1st October, okay, 2018, a new joinee who joined the company as GM was given another super user password. Okay, that's good. So the first question comes in the protection of password. Did they cancel the old password? Did they cancel all the logs? Did they have proper power transmission? Power transmission means not the electricity, but the job transferred to the new person. Who knows? Let us see. In due course of time, come on, something happened now. The company had Mr. J as its internal auditor. Wow. maybe it's me only, who knows, right? In the month of March 2019, after the due procedure, he submitted his draft internal audit, or sorry, information security audit report to the chief executive officer and managing director, highlighting the following key control issues. Okay, there are some control issues which obviously we understand from the first para itself. All the employees of the accounts department have been using the super user password of the previous general manager. Oh my god, they didn't cancel. So the old password is being used and the access is still there. They didn't cancel the logs. They didn't cancel the account. You can say the login IDs, right? So they are using the old password. For the past 6 months after the new joinee has joined, the audit logs of some data are missing and not available. Who knows what employee has done? Then, there is no basic configuration in the accounting system to restrict cash payment in excess of 10,000 that results in expense being disallowed as a business expense that shall lead to increase in tax liability of the company. Okay, so some taxation aspect has come more than payment of 10,000, the income shall be disallowed, the expense shall be disallowed, and you have to have tax liability on that. There is no effective internal control system regarding user management, creation, and modification of the accounting voucher. Exactly, who is using, how much they have to use, what are the access restrictions, nothing is there. So anybody can create and do something. Company has no emergency plan. See, chapter number 3 is playing an important role, protection of information systems, right? Then now comes chapter number 4. Company has no emergency plan with an company has no emergency plan with an outdated list of names to contact. Okay, if you remember the disaster recovery plan, the last page of chapter number 6, even which we discussed in our chapter number 4 revision recently, there will be a list of vendor names or list of people who can be contacted as an emergency. So those list of names are outdated, okay, and it won't help. The line says na, and there is some type of emergency within the company, the list of contacts are outdated. Okay, there are unused computer systems. So unused computers, chapter number 8, cloud grid computing. There is unused computer system lying idle. There is no antivirus or security mechanism. Again, chapter number 3, existing on the computer systems of the employees carrying out day-to-day transactions. There are versions of unauthorized software installation on the numerous computer systems. So there is no proper authorization of what software is being installed, who is installing it, what is the version being installed. No documentation regarding plans of disaster recovery planning and business continuity. Chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 8 is being discussed here. IT department has made its data backup system once in every 6 months. Just imagine, 6 months backup, what backup it will take. But there is no substitute for fully implemented BCP. So there is no chapter number 4, even backup was not properly done. There is no physical and environmental control policy for safeguarding company assets. Chapter number 3. I think this company has nothing in place to protect itself. I don't know what business they are doing, right? Okay, come. The IS auditor recommended a proposed solution to overcome the aforementioned issues. To implement the same, he recommended the strategy to adopt new accounting system with the old and new system both being used alongside each other. Implementation, chapter number 5, parallel implementation, pilot implementation, those things. Both being able to operate independently. If all goes well, old system is stopped and new system carries on as the only system. Parallel system is being discussed here. Maybe one question may come out of it. Let us see. Based upon the facts of the case scenario given above, choose the most appropriate answer from question of 7.1 to 7.7. I guess it's increasing the numbers, right? In fourth question it was 5 questions, fifth it was 6 questions, sixth it was 8 questions. Again, now we have again 7 questions. Okay, let us see. Mr. J made many recommendations to his draft IS audit report. All of you please come into shoes of IS auditor. Okay, he recommended, though till date there has not been any case of interruption so far, though they don't have any proper backup, still things are going fine. However, KD Health and Medical Care Limited should develop a practical logistical plan known as business continuity plan to take care of recovery and restoration partially or fully in case of occurrence of any disaster. Which of the following will not form part of the business continuity plan methodology? Okay, so BCP, if you recall chapter number 4, if you have not studied, don't worry, fast revision also available in the May 2021 playlist. If you want somewhat slow revision, chapter number 4 in part of 4 videos available in the playlist. So there are resources, you can take and use them. The only difference is that the old video will have the first or second version of my last day revision notes, but the new one, the recent one, will have the newly updated uh, last day revision notes there, and that also you can purchase at 50% off. The link is in the description box below. Okay, so which of the following will not form the business continuity plan methodology. Defining recovery requirements from the perspective of business function. It is a part of BCP. We need to define what we need to recover. Then disaster prevention and impact minimization as well as orderly recovery. This is also a part we need to know what to do. Documenting the impact of extended loss to key business function. Once we document what is the loss occurred to the key business function, we can make proper plans and prevent it and minimize the impact for the next time. Then clear distinction and non-integration between system development process and business plan to keep plan viable over time. Just once read carefully what he's saying. He's saying that we need to have a clear distinction, means proper segregation, and there should be no integration between system development plan and business plan. You are developing a system based upon your business plan. If you don't integrate it, how can you keep the plan going? That is actually a very wrong policy also. So it is not forming a part of business continuity plan methodology. Okay, then so once you are perfect in the chapters now, do completely listen to chapter 1 to chapter 8. That will give you a boost in and then the cases will become easy, or else you will be feeling bit difficult if you don't complete the chapter 1 to 8. Okay, then Mr. J is an IS auditor of KDE Health and Medical Care Limited. During his audit, he prepared a list of risks associated with the breach of security in the application system that are ordinarily high because logs for the whole period of the audit are not available at the time of the audit. What type of risk is Mr. J working on? So because they do security, don't go for security risk. Again, read it slowly. Breaches of security, because when he is trying to go through the audit logs for the entire period are not available for the audit. They may backed up on some external device, right? So he is searching the security breach for security, and the logs are for the whole period are not available. He has to wait to get all the log information. So he's trying to find out where he's trying to detect the areas where the security breach can happen. So he's not trying to have any control risk, trying to see if the controls in the organization can find the risk or not, so control the disaster or not. He's not seeing for any inherent risk in the organization which is bound to happen. He is not only focused on security, but he is trying to see the breaches of security because the logs are not available. So if the logs are available with them at that point of time, he can find out where the security breach can happen. So he's trying to detect the areas where security breach can happen there, but he's not able to do so quickly because logs are not available completely for the audit. So what risk is trying to do? Trying to take work on, he's working on detection risk. Okay, in the given case scenario, the basic configuration in the accounting system of the company does not have an option to restrict payment in excess of 10,000 in cash, which leads to enhance. So there is no proper control that more than 10,000 of cash should not be paid. So what is this actually leading to? So where are we going? So what kind of risk the organization is facing because of this thing? First thing, there is non-compliance of law. Every answer has that. So let us see one by one. Is it detection risk? No. When there is a payment going for 10,000, the system must stop it. Okay, because there may be a daily transaction, maybe 1,000, 10,000, even 12,000, 15,000 daily payment transaction happen. So there's nothing to do with security because payment is going from the company to outside. So D is not option. We are not trying to detect anything. Detection risk will come after event has happened. Here we need something which will stop it then and there before it happens. And control risk will come. Control inherent. Inherent risk is something which the by default is there in the organization. So payment of 10,000 is there. There is no restriction for that. And what is control risk? Control risk is this which you cannot avoid even after applying the controls, right? So if you apply a control on the system saying that if more than 10,000 there should be indication going to the finance department, or the system must not process it, something kind, it can be controlled. But here exactly now situation is that 10,000 payment in cash, more than 10,000 happening, and it is leading to a non-compliance of law and inherent risk because everyday payment must happen from the company to the vendors, right? So it is inherent risk and non-compliance with law. This is a bit tricky, right? This case study is a bit tricky compared to the other case studies. Okay, then 7.4, an accountant has right to create as well as modify accounting vouchers. Oh my god, he is creating and he is modifying? No. Which of the following principle has not been followed in the company in the given scenario? If you remember, even in the discussion, I think mostly in chapter number 3 there is a concept of segregation of duties, right? In that we once told that account accountant who is dealing with the cash must not prepare the vouchers. So here the main principle they're forgetting is the segregation of duty. Forget about confidentiality. Confidentiality, availability must be there for every data. But if the accountant is only the person creating vouchers, he can be confidential in securing information. He can make the information available. He can keep the information. He can see the integrity of information. But on the basic level, first there must be segregation of duty. So what principle they are not following? Segregation of duties. Then, in the given case, which of the following new accounting system implementation strategy, I said na, recommended by the IS order. What did he say? Both systems will be working, and once the new system has been properly implemented and successful, it will be the only system. So it is the case of parallel changeover, because both are running on same line. Direct implementation means no need of thinking anything, just start the new system. Okay, phased changeover means you will be going from, you will apply the in phase manner, means phase 1 is for part implementation of the strategy, then the phase 2 is for further more implementation of the same system, like that. Pilot changeover means you apply in a particular locality or branch. If it is suitable, then you will take to the entire organization. But parallel, both start at a time, both will be working. Once the new is completely adopted, the old will be withdrawn. Okay, then 7.6. In the given case scenario, IS auditor using concurrent audit techniques to check whether the accounting system restricting cash payment in excess of rupees 10,000 or not, identify the following concurrent audit techniques which are useful in the above case. So what's happening here? He is saying that 10,000 or more systems, more amount of cash is being paid. So here, which of the following tools and techniques can be used to detect such transaction? First thing, continuous intermittent simulation is something will happen where you keep on searching, they keep on continuously doing it. So that may not be that helpful. So here what happened? Here we need to use that audit technique to check whether the accounting system restricting the cash payment in excess of 10,000 or not. So what can you do? You can take a dummy transaction, keep 12,000 and see the system is stopping it or not. So you want to test it. So integrated test facility will be the best example for that. Okay. Then in the given, if you want to see the differences of these A, B and C, A, B, C, D, then we can once go through here. I've kept this thing ready for you. Scarf, it will be in the chapter number 6, right? Let us see and study. That will be even good for revision for you. That's the reason why I'm trying to scroll it up. Okay, let us see. We have here, we have the tools. My goodness, they came somewhere down. Just a minute. So this book almost took around a month for me to prepare. So I do really like my book very much. So what does snapshot say? We send in the entire transaction, it will take the photograph, the picture of the transaction certain places, and then the images are taken to see how the transaction is moving in the system. But here we need something to see if system is working or not. That's why we introduce some test data. That's why we use integrated test facility, where we introduce a dummy data to see if system is acting as per the required needs or not, if system is stopping the transaction if it's more than 10,000 or not. Then what is scarf file? Scarf file involves, it's an auditing software module in the host application. In the client place we keep that software module, and it will be provided continuous, it will monitor continuous transactions, and anything is something variation will be written to a separate file called scarf file, and then the auditor will check that file, right? You can read, well, you can even take screenshot of this because I'm keeping there, and then this file will be studied by the auditor. Then the if required action can be taken. That is scarf file. It's similar, like even the continuous and intermediate situation is similar to scarf. The thing is that exceptions are captured here. The exceptions in the database management system is also captured, not only transaction level. Okay, that database management system is further, it will go into the every data that goes into the database management system is read, and then it is sent to the CIS. It will examine the transaction further, and then if further processing is required to do on the transaction, then the required action will be taken. And in the transaction, if there is any exception, it will be sent to the separate file, and the file will be again studied to know the exception. If it is not, the data is kept remained in the database management system. There is a difference between SCARF and CIS. And then last one, we have the audit hooks. Audit hooks are the audit routines which will raise the flag if it finds a suspicious transaction. So if there if they if the entire audit period, if the transaction is being processed and the system finds there can be some scope for any kind of fraud, then it will raise a suspicious transaction that something is happening. This person has visited so many number of times, or this many log items has been done without any proper work on the system. So that kind of suspicious transaction, or maybe a dormant account has been activated. So those kinds of things are taken care in the audit hook. But now what is the question here? The question is that to identify whether the accounting system is properly restricting the cash payment excess of 10,000 or not, what you should do, you should apply the audit tool called integrated test facility. If the explanation is too lengthy, please don't worry. I'm just explaining again and again so that you will not feel discomfort when you see the other options there. Okay, comes as chapter number 7 again. In which of the given case scenario, if a junior employee of Mr. AB from finance department sends email to banker for requesting money transfer and pretend to be GM finance of the company, and also the following, he is trying to impersonate, he is trying to be like a person who he is not. He is a junior but he is acting like a GM. So what kind of penalty, what section he will be penalized? He will be penalized under section 66D, representing or impersonating some other person. Let us once again see the section numbers also. So you have a separate table. Even in last video also we have the section numbers. So 66A is punishment for sending offensive message to communication service. 66B, punishment for dishonestly receiving stolen computer resource or communication device, imprisonment up to 3 years or fine up to 1 lakh or both. 66C, punishment for identity theft. Identity theft means trying to act like some other person. Okay, then impersonation of either description for a term that may be extended to 3 years and fine up to 1 lakh. 66D, punishment for cheating by personation using computer resource. You act like some other person, like you go and give your number in place of some other person, asking the bank to do a transaction, sending to your personal account. You are representing other person in, you're going to the bank and representing yourself as another person. That is 66C. 66D will come when you're cheating, okay, like and acting another person using computer resource. Here he sent email na, he sent email saying that I am hello sir, please send the amount. From GM, general manager of finance, the junior sent a mail. So he is cheating, personating and using computer resource. So imprisonment of either a description of a term that may extend up to 3 years and fine of rupees 1 lakh. Then 66E is punishment for privacy, for violation of privacy, imprisonment up to 3 years or fine of rupees 1 lakh or both. 66F, punishment for cyber terrorism, imprisonment which may extend to imprisonment for life. So we are falling under the 66D is the answer. Okay, so this will complete the 7th case study. Now let us go to the 8th one. Okay, I hope you are enjoying it. Do provide your comments in the comment section. Please share it with your friends and also hit the like button. It will give me more motivation to add good videos, right? Okay, let's go to the 8th one. So now let's see the next 8th one. Okay, what does it say? Jammu Kashmir based ABC University is a renowned university, especially known for its faculty for business management and economics in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The university offers various undergraduate and post-graduation programs along with research studies, that's Master of Philosophy and PhD. Recently, the Academic Council of the University approved the proposal of the faculty to start some UG and PG courses in distance learning mode too. It is observed that the students of distance education are normally dependent on self-study only, along with little support from the concerned department. In view of this, it's a big paragraph. So as of now, we understand that the university wants to even have a distance education portal or distance education also as a part of its academic curriculum. Okay, so what is saying now, in view of the aforementioned fact, the management of the university decided to launch a web-based knowledge portal, because if you want to have distance education, you must be able to give some electronic medium of education, right? So they decided to launch a web-based knowledge portal to facilitate the students of different courses. It is proposed to upload the study material, e-lectures, tips to prepare for the examination, and online mock test papers for students to self-analyze their preparation level of the approved courses on the knowledge portal. It is expected that the portal will be very useful for the students, as it aims to provide the access of various academic resources on anytime, anywhere basis. Okay, so they want to give study material, lectures, tips and etc. on the portal, which can be accessed and can be beneficial for the students. That's all. We all know what is the benefit of having a website for providing these lectures, right? Then, for the implementation of this portal, the technical team of 3 IT consultants. So they want to have a website. So they now have a technical team of 3 IT consultants carried out a feasibility study. Chapter number 5. Under various dimensions are prepared a detailed report that was submitted to the management of the university for the approval. On receiving a go-ahead nod from the management, an expression of interest was published by the university in various national and regional newspapers, inviting various IT companies to propose the best solution as per the requirement of the concerned faculty of the university. So they did a feasibility study. Now they want to implement a system. To implement a system, you know what need to do once feasibility study is done. We need the vendors to we need the consultants to we need the consultants who can do the system and build the system for us, right? So they placed advertisement in the newspaper asking which who are interested, and please give a quotation as to what kind of service and how can you fulfill our need. Okay, then all the valued criterions were duly considered, and subsequently the solution proposed by the Higher IT Solutions was well implemented by the university. So one company by the name Higher IT Solutions gave all the met all the criteria as needed by the university for developing the system, and that was accepted and implemented by the university. The responsibility of the portal's maintenance and updation resided with Mr. A, an employee of Higher IT Solutions on paid basis. So website maintenance must be done, it must be updated. So that thing is done by Mr. A. Later, it was found that Mr. A was involved in certain anti-national activities. Chapter number 7. Okay, by misusing IT resources he has been in charge of. During an internal inquiry, he was found to be guilty, and the Higher IT Solutions terminated him from his services immediately. Mr. A, before leaving the city, threatened the company with the dire consequences. He disclosed that he has certain conditions on the fulfillment of which some malicious content would get broadcasted to the portal users, thus demeaning the reputation of the university. To disclose the same, he demanded a hefty amount to be transferred to his account through net banking. Oh, he threatened the company saying that because you people have removed me, he is not guilty of his offense. Okay, you have to pay me some hefty amount, else I will transfer some malicious content on the portal of the university, and it can decrease the reputation of the university. It can be anything, like he can remove the files, or he can cause harm, infect with any worm or trojan to the portal, to the system, to the portal there, or he can even send some offensive content on the website which can bring the reputation of the university to go down, right? Anything can happen. So let us see. Based upon the facts of the case scenario given above, choose the most appropriate from the question 8.1 to 8.7. Fine, let us try. In the given case scenario, which of the following attribute of the information system security will have the highest priority while developing the web-based knowledge system? So, web-based knowledge system, we are trying to develop a website for the distance learning. That is our criteria, right? So, coming till the down, we forgot what is the main thing these people are trying to do. They are trying to build a website for enabling distance education to the students. So, when you are developing the website, what is the main criteria among the 4? Main criteria, all these 4 are main for any system or any website, but what is even more important for this web-based knowledge portal? Availability. Why? Because if you are a student and you go to any website for taking any information, and it is taking a long time, it's only circling, nothing is coming out, so then the information is not available when you need. So that knowledge portal has been developed to give to the students those information or tips or e-study material or video classes or lectures as and when they need it. So availability is most important. Of course, confidentiality, integrity, completeness, all these matters, but for this web-based knowledge portal, availability is the main priority. Okay, then what possible dimension under feasibility study of the proposed web-based knowledge portal system is said to have been compromised if the students who are not able to access the e-resources available on the website anytime. So just now we were discussing that the people are developing, the university is developing websites so that the students can access the lectures, right? So if at any point of time the website is not accessible, or the website, they have reached the website but still the content is not available to them, it's going blank, something of the sort is happening, so what kind of feasibility is the website lacking? Technically the website is functioning, okay, technical is functioning, resource is there on the website, okay, and university is able to afford it, like economic cost benefit is there, but students are not able to access it. What is the behavior you want on the website? Whenever the student comes there, clicks any tab or icon, the respective lecture or the downloadable resource or the information must be available, it must come on the screen or get downloaded, right? So that behavior is being lacking there. So whenever the student is not able to access the information, it is the what is the system or portal unable to satisfy, it is unable to, it is lacking behavioral feasibility there. Okay, next, in the given case scenario, all the valid criteria taken into consideration for the vendor selection for proposed web-based knowledge portal system development for university except, wait, let us read once again. In the given case scenario, okay, all are valid criteria, all the four are valid criteria taken into consideration for vendor selection. Okay, if you see chapter number 5, there is some 4 or 5 points for vendor selection for hardware software acquisition thing, this vendor selection concept. So he is saying that all the four are valid criteria for the vendor selection for the web based knowledge portal system except one. So in the four criteria, which is the one thing which is not taken into consideration while you are searching for a vendor to develop that web based knowledge portal system. First thing, we will definitely see the financial stability of the vendor. That's a particular point. If he is financially not stable, then he will not be in the business. If he is not in the business, he cannot provide maintenance and upgrades to our website. Then we will definitely take care of the market feedback of the vendor. Before going there, we'll see the star rating, Google search, everything we will do. Then constitutional members of the vendor, that is not actually bothered, like we just see the company name, his work profile, who are the directors, what work they are doing, but we don't go into deep as to what the director is doing. Of course he gives on the website, but we won't probe into seeing who are the members of the company or who are the chief in charge. All these things we don't see in much detail. We see the work and the ratings and feedback of the market, and also we see geographical location. If the vendor is available within proximity to the university, it will be easy for him in case if there are any hardware installations to happen, he can come to the university. If he is far away, the travel time will have a good impact. So what is not considered, constitution members of the vendor is not a criteria for vendor selection. So chapter number 5 you can once go through. We have I think 1.5 hour of revision in chapter number 5, I guess. Yeah. Then in the given scenario, the following features of the proposed web-based knowledge portal system development, okay, knowledge portal system development lifecycle are involved. So I hope you remember the system development lifecycle, the sequence of steps that happens there. I hope you remember it. Like first it will happen that we do the investigation, then we do the requirement analysis, okay, then we design the system, then we implement system, and then we maintain and review system. So in the proposed web-based knowledge portal system development life cycle, all the cycles will be involved. So arrange them in the order. What is the order we have? We have this one. First one, investigate. So between A and D, one will be the answer. Second will be to design. So D is the answer. Investigate, design, investigate, then requirement analysis, then design, then implement, and then maintain. Okay, then in the given case scenario, under which of the following section of the Information Technology Act 2000, the IT manager shall be punishable if he initiated that attack on the university system. So what's happening, the website is being again maintained by the person who developed it. Like higher IT systems are the people who are maintaining the website after it's being installed and developed. So if any attack happens, okay, if the IT manager under what section the IT manager will be punishable if he initiated the attack on the university system. So attack on the system is being dealt with section 66. If you have gone through the section number C, section 66, computer related offenses, okay, this A is for sending wrong information, B is for wrongly receiving the system, C is for identity theft, D is for identity theft with computer resource, E is for violation of privacy, F is for cyber terrorism. But now he is initiated an attack. Attack means you can say trying to send continuous spam kind of mails which can block the network, something of that sort, but it's related through a computer. So computer related offenses is done in section 66, that is imprisonment up to 3 years or fine up to 5 lakhs, or both is a punishment. So 66 is the answer, section number 66. Okay, yeah. Then in the given case scenario, the name of the damaging act that uses a computer program to trigger an unauthorized malicious activity. What he's saying, computer program to trigger an unauthorized malicious activity when some predefined conditions are met. So whenever a predefined conditions are met, then only that activity or that wrong, malicious, unauthorized action will happen. Otherwise it will not happen. Worm need not have those conditions, it gets spreads. Trojan, it takes a host securement, and it goes on spreading from one place to another. Worm does not need to have any mode for transportation also. Okay, then Trojan hides in a particular place, and then it keeps on going. Then knack attack is not available with us. Computer virus is a general term, but if you see logic bomb needs a predefined action. So uh, yes, so here if you see, the description is that unauthorized malicious activity, when something predefined conditions are met, then only that another activity will happen. That is logical bomb. But if it comes to worm, it is self-contained code, it keeps on spreading on the network. But Trojan horse is like a malicious content hidden behind a programmed code, programmed a good program content, and whenever the proper timing comes, or it has been clicked or activated, then only it spreads. So if the it is not defined, Trojan horse does not have any predefined conditions. Okay, just you need to click it or need to access it. But logical bomb is something which has certain predefined conditions, and when those are met, then the unauthorized malicious activity gets triggered. So in this here, the answer is logic bomb. Okay, next one, the last one. If the IT manager plans for the denial of service attack, what is the purpose of denial of service attack, that you will understand? So denial of service attack means the services which has to be provided by the website or system is not being provided and it is being stopped. Okay, so what is our options? We have exploit the weakness in the TCP IP stack to execute Trojan horse on a system, to overload a system so that it is no longer operational, to shut down the services by turning them off. So denial of service attack, if you can understand with the term itself, suppose if you have not studied the term denial of service attack, you can understand that it is trying to send many several commands or request to systems that the system gets overloaded and it will not function as it is required. That is called denial of service attack. So and when it's no longer operational, it will not function well. Okay, so that is the appropriate definition. So denial of service attack is to overload a system so that it's no longer operational. Like if this shutdown of service or to execute a Trojan or exploit a weakness comes for the Trojan horse, worm, or logic bomb kind of things, where the things are being dropped and no one has a control on the system. But in denial of service, you will have access to system, but you can't use because system gets many requests from outside that is unable to understand what to do, gets overloaded and it stops functioning. So the denial of attack means to overload the system so that it is no longer operational. Okay, so now let's move to the ninth one. Okay, this is also quite big. Let's try. Bharat Mera Mahan Bank, okay, is a private sector bank. There are various branches of the bank located all over the Gujarat. When they say bank, I am recollecting something called Core Banking Solutions, right? Chapter number 2. One of the branches is situated near Vadodara railway station, and just outside the branch there is one ATM machine installed by the bank for 24/7 operation. The fact related to ATM room is as follows. I think here is trying to cover the chapter number 3 parts, saying the protection of system, even environmental controls and the restricted access controls. Those things maybe he's trying to cover in this. Let us see. The ATM room has glass partition so that inside view is visible from outside. Good. ATM room has split AC just above the machine for maximum cooling. Okay. There is no register inside the room. Oh, okay. The ATM machine is the form of front loading type, from where the cash is loaded inside the ATM machine. There are two people responsible for cash loading, one cashier and other main cashier. If main cashier is absent, an officer helps the clerk to load the cash. Physical cash is tallied once in a week. Many a times the machine is down due to non-availability of cash or non-connectivity problem, but no log is available. Wow. There is a smoke detector installed in the ATM room, but there is no fire extinguisher. Then what's the use? Security guards are available during 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and CCTV surveillance. There is a security guard stationed outside ATM machine room. He has been instructed to help customers who need help in cash withdrawal. Security guards have been hired from an outside outsourcing agency. They undergo transfers haphazardly, but in 6 months. and the branch is not aware of the same. So who is staying there as a security guard, no one is aware of. Okay, Bharat Mera Mahan Bank has to take into consideration various notifications and circulars issued by the Reserve Bank of India. Chapter number 7. Reserve Bank of India issues guidelines covering various aspects of secure technology deployment in banking and financial sector for adoption and implementation of corporate and ISO 27001. Chapter number 7 and a bit of chapter number 1 also. The requirements of RBI for system control and audit states that IT governance, information security governance related aspects, critical IT general controls such as data center controls and processes, and critical business application system having financial compliance implications including regulatory reporting, risk management, customer access and MI system need to be subjected to IS audit as per the frequency or more frequently if warranted by the risk management. So what is RBI saying? We need many things like IT controls, data controls, all controls what affects the risk management criteria, financial aspects, compliance aspects and MI system, everything must be audited. Okay, we want everything to be fit and fine. This is what RBI needs. Okay, so here most focus on chapter number 7 if you have seen it, and chapter number 3. Based upon the above facts in the given scenario, choose the most appropriate appropriate answer to the question 9.1 to 9.7. Okay, let us try. It's good. Okay, the first question. In the given case scenario, two personnel simultaneously accessing the and refilling the cash in the ATM machine of the branch of Bharat Mera Mahan Bank is the best example of what? Like in the above para, if you remember, if you see, it has been given. I think it is here only. It is saying that two people responsible for cash loading, one cashier, other main cashier. If suppose main cash is absent, other officer helps the clerk in loading the cash. So there are two people doing the action there. So what is it? Is it dual access, a dual control, supervisory control, or maker checker control? See, we don't have supervisory control and maker checker control as a part. Okay, is there no such concept here? But we have dual access and dual control. Dual access means two people accessing at a time. Okay, so two people accessing at a time, generally in the lockers of the bank or in very high valued areas where two keys are placed, then only the wallet gets open. Such kind of thing is dual access. But dual control is for the two people taking care of this action, means one person is accessing, another person is refilling. So there are two people involved in the entire action. So it is dual control is example of the thing done by the bank employees in refilling the ATM machine. Okay, so here then both people are not accessing the machine. Here what happens generally when the cash comes, one takes the cash, gets tallied, and he waits there and sees how the other one is inserting the cash. Okay, and they both countersign. So that is where the dual control is happening in this scenario. Okay, then as a part of the auditing information security of the Bharat Mera Mahan Bank, as an IS auditor wants to assess the security of information in the ATM facility. Under which privacy policy should he look for details pertinent to security guard and CCTV surveillance of the ATM? So what happened now? The IS auditor want to know the how much he wants to have the information about the security at the ATM facilities. He wants to access the information which shows the security at the ATM facilities. So what he should look in the privacy policy of the bank, which says about the security, what he should look for the detail, where he can get the details of the security guards and CCTV surveillance. Okay, let us see the options. First thing, acceptable usage of information asset policy, physical access control and security policy, asset management policy, business continuity management policy. Here the IS auditor wants to see security at the ATM facility. So that will not, that is a part of the business, but it doesn't, you will not have any information regarding security guards in the business continuity management. Fine, you will not have any information regarding it in the asset management also, because asset management is only, it can cover physical and IT assets also. And then acceptable usage of information assets, like now the ATM machine is to be used by common public. You can't keep any rules saying that you have to come only this time, or do only max. You can say you can take this many number of transactions, this much of amount, right? So acceptable usage is for the employees only, not for the outside people. Here we are dealing with the ATM facility. So ATM facility, he wants to know what is the security of the guards and CCTV. He will get the data in the physical access control and security policy. In that he has to see what is the management policy regarding physical access control for the ATM, like how many guards are there, from whom they hired, how many times they RBI change? Does that hiring company outsourcing agency inform the bank as to who is the new security guard appointed there? So what is security policy, etc. are given in the physical access control and security policy. Then many a times ATM machine is down due to non-availability of cash or connectivity problems, but no log is available, so no trade available. This type of risk IS audit is facing. So he needs logs to understand under what conditions and how many times that this non-availability of cash or lack of connectivity is causing ATM machine to work in a low manner. So he needs to have logs, but logs are not there. So this is a type of detection risk. If there's a controls and if the risk is not being captured or controlled is control risk, but first of all he need to understand what is the risk there. He knows a problem, but what amount of risk is there we don't know. How many times it's out of cash, how many times is there internet connectivity. So to know he must have a logs are not there. So it is an example of detection risk. And this is not inherent, this is not inherent risk is by default there in the organization. This one can be controlled. And security risk, of course ATM has its own security, firewalls are there, but if uh, security mostly focuses on physical security and logical security, even that is can be addressed. But the problem is there is no proper log as to know when at what points of time in the day or in the month or in the week there is shortage of cash or internet connectivity problem. To know that there are no logs, therefore it is detection risk. Then Reserve Bank of India issued guidelines covering various aspects of secure technology deployment and emphasis on implementation of COVID 5. What does COVID 5 mean? Come on, I think this will be one of the important thing. So best suited for large corporate? No, it's suitable for all. Suitable for small and medium? No, suitable for all. Not ideally suitable for not profit? No, suitable for profit, not profit, every category of enterprise. It is set of globally accepted principles, practices, analytics, tools, and models. Exactly. COVID 5 is this definition here. Then, Reserve Bank of India has been advised to adapt ISO 27001 for achieving its objective. Identify the reason given below for which may adopt ISO 27001 for banking and financial sector industry. So, what are the reasons? I think this somewhere has been covered. Maybe this question has come even in the 1 to 100 MCQs also. I think I have seen something like this there. Okay, let us see what is the benefit of ISO 27001. It is certified 1, it is accepted globally. Yes, so 1 A, C and D, one of them will be the answer. It is certified 1, it is not required IS auditor forever. No, it is certified 1 but it needs IS auditor. If it is certified 1, there is no separate strategy policy required for business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning. Absurdly not. You must have a BCP and DRP strategically designed to the company even after deploying ISO 27001. It's suitable for protecting critical sensitive information. Exactly, ISO 27001 it tells you what are the information to be protected and taken care for. It provides a holistic risk-based approach to secure information and compliance. Of course, it will do. It creates market differentiation due to prestige, image, and external goodwill. So 1, 4, 5, 6 is the answer. Okay, then requirements of RBI for system control and audit stated that IT governance, information security, governance related aspects, critical IT general control such as data center control and processes and critical business application system having financial compliance implications including regulatory reporting, risk management, customer access, delivery channels and MIS system needs to be installed subjected to IS audit. Oh my god. In simple he can ask how many times this information system audit must happen in the banking environment. That's a simple question. RBI requirement says once in a year, that we know. Once in a year, that answer is in the first A bit only. At least once in a year or more frequently warranted by risk assessment. So he is just trying to make you all feel doubted. Like, what is the question all about? The question is the last line. So MI system needs to be subjected to IS audit. How many times the audit must happen? At least once in a year. So he just given the entire line giving you like if there are so many topics, some people may think that these so many audits are there, so there must be at least once in 5 years. No, because so many audits are there, so many things must be covered. Audit must be at least once in a year as per the RBI guidelines. Okay. Suppose you are appointed as an IS auditor of the branch. The assessment areas are follows. Okay, so what are you going to assess? Impact, it is the outcome if the risk is exploited. Impact is the outcome. No, it is the effect if the risk is exploited. Vulnerability refers to the weakness content in system which can be exploited by the threat to create a risk. Is vulnerability means weakness. Impact is not the outcome. Impact is the effect if the risk gets exploited. Then risk, potential that given threat will exploit the vulnerability uh, of the asset or group of asset to cause a loss or damage to the asset. Threat represents lack of adequate control. Oh my god. He's saying how will you categorize your assessment in chronological order? Okay, relax. Let us see. He has given 4. He is saying your auto you to assess the areas. So how will you chronologically assess these topics: impact, vulnerability, risk, and threat? Okay, let us see. First one, what will happen? First one, we'll be having vulnerability, because if there's a weakness, then only we will be even more cautious. So first we'll see where is the weakness there. So first is a vulnerability. When there is a vulnerability, then there is a risk. Sorry, then there is a threat. That risk may happen. When there is a weakness, then there is a threat that there is no proper control and some attack can happen. After vulnerability and knowing the threat, we focus on the risk. We focus on what? We focus on the risk, because we have a weakness, we need to have proper control, and then once the controls get in place, we focus on the risk, knowing uh, what threat will actually hurt us because of the vulnerability. Are you getting the point? You're an IS auditor, you're trying to assess the areas. First you will see what is the vulnerability of the system, then you will see because of vulnerability what are the threat that is happening. Then depending upon the threat, you assess the risk and the potential impact of that risk, and finally will come impact assessment. So actually, to be frank, impact means it is the outcome if the risk is exploited. Somewhat it's okay, depending upon the 4 lines it is okay, but generally impact means it is the effect of the risk. But even this line, depending upon the other 3 conditions, the definition is okay. So first we will see the vulnerability, then we will see the risk, then we will see the threat, and then we will see the impact. Okay, so 3 4 sorry 2 4 3 and 1 is the answer. Wow, that's good. So here we complete 7 8 9 case studies. I hope you enjoyed it. This might be a bit a lengthy one because the case studies are lengthy. Next we will start with 10th one in the upcoming video. Okay, so for the other videos of the case studies, they are available in the playlist of May 2021. Also I may share the link in the description box below, and for any kind of questions or queries, feel free to comment. I will be happy to answer. Okay then, my friends, be happy, keep on studying, and let's meet in the next video. Till then, take care.